So first of all, I have some goodies up here for people who are going to conferences. If they need some Ubuntu Women stuff, I've got stickers and postcards and magnets. So after the session, you can come up and look. I figured I'd just start off. So I started a wiki page that I had people add stuff to if they were interested, and I just copied everything from the wiki page into this document. So we have a few things we want to work on and continue this cycle. I guess I'll jump down to the bottom first and say projects we're continuing to work on. Last cycle, Cherie proposed Career Days thing, which was a series of Ubuntu Classroom sessions where we had women who worked in the industry come in and give us basically a snapshot of what their career is in technology, how they got there, how their job is influenced by and for open source. And it was pretty much just to get other women in our community exposed to the careers that are out there and the paths that other women have taken to get there, because there's still not a lot of encouragement and direction for girls to get into technical pursuits, so we may not have been exposed to it previously. It's been a really interesting series of events. We've had 4 women come out and do presentations for us. So we're going to continue that into the next cycle. I'm trying to recruit more. I'm hoping Jessica will do one. Yeah.
So are these are online or in person?
They're online. They're in IRC.
Cool. So, and how many people seem to show up to them?
It depends. I mean, the people who are active and talking in channel, probably maybe 6 to 8 people.
Okay.
But then we publish summary and logs on our blog, and then on Facebook and Google Plus and everywhere,
right,
and get feedback. We actually had Jane come out and do one from her when she started being a programmer, and then finally she's now CEO of Canonical.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a really good one. So very encouraging stuff, and I've got a lot of really good feedback from that. So we'll continue doing that. Oh, she said, Jessica says she'd try.
Yeah.
We also have a column in Full Circle magazine. It's a PDF magazine that's released each month. We've been doing them about every other month, just because we need more people to write articles, and we need more recommendations for people to interview. I think we've pretty much interviewed everyone who's involved with the Ubuntu Women project itself on a day-to-day basis. But I'd like to reach out to more women in the community who aren't necessarily interested in our project. They're just women who we'd like to profile in order to encourage others.
The thing is, the Ubuntu Women project is not just open for women, right?
Oh, right. No, I'm saying the Ubuntu Women project is not only open for women, but at the same time, not every single woman in our community is interested in the Ubuntu Women project.
True.
It's not like a collection of all the women. It's a project devoted to encouraging more women to contribute.
I told Kate to get in touch with you because she's working with a girls' school in the area to get Ubuntu in there.
Excellent.
And she says they're all really excited about Ubuntu and want to get involved. So I told her, get them into get the story up on the Ubuntu Women's site so that people can see about it.
Our community doesn't really have problems with women, right? It's not really any sexist thing like that. Or is there?
There have been instances where things happen that are not great.
No, I think the thing is, are they handled correctly?
For the most part, the community does a pretty good job of apologizing and handling things. I think just reminding people that we exist and just being more mindful that there are women in the group and not saying like, we need some guy to do this. I'm like, well, I'm not some guy, but I'll do it.
So
sometimes wording and other things.
I sometimes have the same problem, but most of the time when I see someone I see, I just try to use gender-neutral pronouns as much as I can, like they and there. Just because I really can't tell on the other side, and some of the greatest people I know are women.
Things like that help.
So I have a question about the events. I can try to help get more people to attend them. OpenHatch has a list of students, undergrads, who've been to our weekend workshop to learn about open source, and 30 to 50% of the attendees are women, so a lot of them would be definitely interested in these. But
Okay.
I don't. Somehow, I'm too busy to hear about them in time to send the messages. So where should I pay attention to?
If you log into Launchpad and subscribe to that page, you'll see when we update it. But I mean, I don't know what's the best format for you, but we announce it to the Ubuntu Women mailing list,
Okay.
blog, Twitter, Google+, Facebook. So
That sounds pretty solid. I'll make sure I'm on the mailing list, and
on
then I'll
one
just
of
pay
them,
attention.
yeah, and so we've been doing them about every other month.
Cool.
So I have a tweet while talking. There's 2 of me.
Wow.
Right, so that's something right, Career Day is something we want to continue publicizing that. Full Circle magazine, again, if there's a woman you see in the community, or a project like the schools thing, that's really cool. We might want to get that on our blog, or put it in Full Circle magazine as an article featured. That would be really cool.
Do we have?
I was actually also wondering about, like, when I was looking at it, there was like a sexual harassment policy, but it was just call 911, and I think that's really...
Also, actually, on the UDS website, there's a whole link of emergency contacts. They couldn't fit it on the page.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just saying call 911 doesn't help. I mean, like...
Yeah, I mean, you have to go to it might have been better if they had a link to the thing, but maybe it wouldn't fit on the badge. But if you actually go to the UDS website, there's a link to the anti-harassment policy, which not only has the long policy, but it has other emergency contacts beyond that. But I think in this case, it was just a matter of what fit on the badge.
Yeah.
It was quite late before they worked out the numbers to go on that website.
Yeah, it was. It took some time. We had to submit a couple bug reports and get the information on the site. So, yeah, it might not have been in time for this. Yeah.
Well, you haven't talked yet, so just go ahead.
Are there any more set dates or people set up for the IRC interviews and sessions?
We don't have one on the schedule yet.
Are there people that you have in mind you're thinking of?
Yeah, there are a few in the queue. So if you go to the Wiki page that's linked here,
all right.
actually it looks like all the, so yeah, Jess said she might do one. I think I'm going to try to get Akana to do one too. So we have some in mind, but definitely recommendations would be good too. And I want to stress that with this Career Days thing, we're doing 2 things. One thing we're doing is we're exposing women to careers out there that they may not have been exposed to previously, because they weren't, maybe they didn't go to school for computing, so they didn't get into the clubs and the right social connections to realize what's out there job-wise. So it's one way to get women exposed to the jobs out there, and another one is finding role models and mentors. So the women that we're having profile here can be people that people look up to and are mentors. So on the one hand, we really want women to do the sessions to fulfill both of those goals. But if we really can't find a woman who's able to do that, we can take men as participants as well, just to show off certain careers. So I want to just point that out, because there are 2 goals, and we'd love to satisfy them both every single time. But if we really can't find a woman to showcase a certain career that we're looking for, not because they don't exist, but usually because we don't have time, because women in the community are always asked to do these kinds of things.
Yeah, there's also one of the great articles on Geek Feminists, and some of them don't want to do stuff like this. They just want to do their work. And
right, they just want to do their work. Yeah. So and that's fine. We don't want to make people do things they're not interested in doing.
Sure.
So anyway, yeah, go for it.
I can possibly propose a Full Circle magazine article. I was supposed to write one like a year ago. Sorry about that. But Mackenzie Morgan worked with Open Hatch on one of our campus outreach events, so she might be willing to be interviewed about what that was like, and what it's like to be involved in in-person free software outreach.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Is that something? So I get the format would probably be that some other Ubuntu woman person would find her and interview her. Do you think?
Yeah, that
Okay,
would
great.
be how it would work. I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I looked on the Full Circle magazine wiki page, and she shows up twice. Once in issue 40, once in issue 27.
I was going to say, I thought I remember doing one.
Yeah, but to have it topical to this particular event would be different.
Yeah,
I
so
think.
we did one with Cherie where I interviewed her about her first UDS experience. So it wasn't like a person interview, it was like an interview about a certain topic. So yeah, those are great.
Can you make your text color lighter than sheet? Because it's kind of
Oh, yeah.
not enough contrast.
Just to continue what we're proposing, we're going to continue working on the blog, social networking. We have a casual mentoring program where women can just come into the channel or mailing list or email a couple of us and say, listen, I want some help on this, and we'll start pointing them in the right direction. If they're not matched up with the resources properly, we'll do more hands-on mentoring where we say, okay, we'll find you one person you can work with, and it's all sort of ad hoc, but it turns out, based on some of the research into mentoring programs in open source that Amber did, that having a more personal approach to mentoring works better than matching two people up on a chart and sending them on their way. So we'll continue that. So for this next cycle, beyond these things we've talked about, that we'll continue doing, there are a couple administrative things. We want to update the theme for our blog. It's just the default WordPress theme right now, which has a massive header at the top. So everyone complains that our logo is gigantic on our blog, and that's it's blog.ubuntu.women.
Okay.
Eek.
Well, now I need to submit a ticket again. Oh man.
That's not even worse than a big header.
Well.
So yeah, that's not a very good theme.
That is not good. This happens, and then I email IS, and they're like, "It's fine." I'm like, "Well, you fixed it already." They're like, "Next time, I need timestamps." Okay. Anyway, well, it's broken. But if you could see it, you would see a giant header that takes up half the screen on most screens.
Default blue WordPress.
Especially on a 9-inch.
Oh yeah, like on here I can't even see the content. So anyway, so we're gonna work on
another WordPress blog. Like,
I'm sorry?
I'm probably pretty sure that's not the only Ubuntu WordPress blog, so you could just grab it from another theme.
Oh, right. I'm sure. Well, we could resize the header or do other things with the theme, but either way, we need to redo the theme. Also, we need to go through our wiki and update a bunch of stuff. First, we need to identify pages that need to be updated, and then mail a list and say, everyone jump in and update these. It's broken. But yeah, so the planet.ubuntu.women, not the blog, has a problem with not picking up feeds, but I think that's just Planet software being special.
Does that feed into Planet Ubuntu?
No, it's a separate Planet. It doesn't, I think Planet Ubuntu used to link to us, but I don't think I think with the new theme they don't link to anyone. Nah, they don't. It used to link to like Ubuntu One and all this stuff, but the Ubuntu Women blog does go to the Planet.
Some people are aggregated on both.
Yeah. So we need to review wiki pages, so that just administrative stuff. And that one was sort of deferred from last cycle. Sylvia started doing some of that, and then reached out to the list, and there wasn't really a response, and I didn't have time to follow up, so it's just moving on. I think reviewing wiki pages is just something we're probably going to have to do every cycle anyway, just because things get outdated. On the outreach side, there was a action item, well, Ashish is updating already, to reach out to some of the existing programs that are out there for running events. So far, the only events in real life that we've actually done have been things like the Ubuntu Women Dinner, which we're having one tonight, and things like that, which are not really, I mean, they're valuable because we get together in a real place and it's fun and we get bonding and meeting each other and getting to share things, but it's not any kind of outreachy, constructive event that brings in more women to the project. So we're trying to seek out other projects who have been successful in attracting women to programming and open source in general. So you have an action item now.
But what will that mean? I can talk with you for a while about how they work.
Okay,
for example.
that would be fine. You know, maybe that would satisfy the thing, and we can just sit down at some point and talk about it. So maybe I have an action item to talk to you. Okay.
I mean, if there ends up being time here, it could be something we talk about here.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, we live near each other. So.
That's true.
So that, yeah, then we can get some ideas there. I'm not sure if we want to tackle any events this cycle. It's hard because we're so distributed, but maybe, you know, at least get the tools in place. If someone did want to run an event, start giving them the pieces.
One thing I can suggest is the OpenHatch has a mailing list called Events, where whenever we run an outreach event, we publish like sort of internal notes about how it went and how it could have gone better. So that would be something that people in Ubuntu Women might want to subscribe to.
Okay, what's that list?
I'll just put a link in the pad in the chat, and then
great.
you can figure out where it goes.
Wasn't there the sort of preliminaries before these deployments at schools happen? Like, is there any rundown of like when this happened? What sort of things occurred in order to make those things happen?
That would be a question for you.
Yeah, except that pretty much what I know about it is what I've written there.
Okay.
So
I just thought it's an interesting topic.
yeah, so Kate just basically, we were casually talking about it yesterday in the hallway quickly, and I said, yeah, you should get that out there because I'm sure people will be interested in it. So
yeah, I'll give myself an action item to follow up with Kate. So last cycle, Susan Spencer, she was new to the project. She had never attended a session before, and she spoke up and said that she thought there was value in creating sort of profiles of, I guess, groups of women where we want to focus on contributing, to contribute, so we know who to reach out to. Maybe in our events we know what mailing lists to reach out to, and just have a better idea of who we're trying to serve with our outreach. So she was working on doing some profiles, and that sort of deferred from last cycle because she ended up getting busy, and she worked out actually our best practices document last cycle, so she was working on that. So we're going to try to keep going with that to create those profile pages on our wiki.
This also, do all of the events assume technical careers, or just for general Ubuntu, like for example translators are needed, stuff like that?
No, so they're definitely not technical. I mean, it's going to be all of Ubuntu, so any kind of contributions at all. So that's.
Do you have people coming to the channel who are not actual computers, say programs in the industry, but are just Ubuntu users who are women in general?
We get women who are using Windows and are interested in Ubuntu. So,
okay,
that's good.
It's all over the place. Who might have heard about it from a friend or a spouse or someone, and they just come to the channel and they're interested. So we get everyone from that to like kernel developers. So it's a very broad.
Probably
range.
not so many kernel developers.
They're not many, but they are out there.
There's one that's really, I don't know where I forget. Anyways, yeah, it's a big article.
When people show up like that, do you do something to capture them and keep their email addresses so you can send them notes about events or something?
So we don't. I'm not so direct about it. I make myself available and say, oh, if you're interested, you can follow up. But I don't want to scare people off by being like, wow, you're here, give me your email. It's hard to approach.
No, I mean,
that.
I think everyone has their own pace. So if you go too fast, you scare anyone away.
For sure.
At the same point.
Is there an announcements? But like hypothetically, if someone shows up and they say, Ubuntu Women stuff is great, I run Windows now, I'm going to install Ubuntu next week, I love this whole project, how do I stay in touch? I guess you tell them like subscribe to the Facebook, Twitter, whatever stuff.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll point them at the blog, which links to all our social media. So I'll mention the website, and then I'll link to the blog, because that's easier for a lot of people to follow whatever social networking thing they're interested in.
Or if somebody actually makes a can of a blog post, you can always like, put a thing to write at the bottom.
This will sound kind of cheesy, but do you have any metrics about like goals for you want there to be 20% more Twitter followers in the next release cycle, or?
We haven't really made any goals like that yet, because our social media stuff is so new. I think we're just, but actually that's probably a good idea. So maybe after this blogging social networking, I'll add establish some goals.
Facebook works really well. For under 25s, we have slightly more women subscribing to Ubuntu than now. So,
I don't use Facebook, so.
Well,
yeah.
I think it's good.
Lots of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of women do, and that's who we're going for. True. I mean, I don't really use Facebook either, but I've sort of forced myself into it, especially for this project, to make sure everything's cross-posted there in a nice manner. And we have a fair amount of followers on the Ubuntu Women Facebook group at this point. Let me see. It might be one of our biggest ones.
Maybe we should upgrade IRC.
One question. When you use somebody that is fluent in Ubuntu and you come up with a website, how close is the Ubuntu website?
I'm sorry?
When you're Googling Ubuntu, how close is the
That's
Ubuntu
a good question.
Search.
I think it should be pretty high.
It's not on the first page.
It is.
If you Google just Ubuntu or Ubuntu Women.
Ubuntu.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure.
No.
Like Google, it's a really hot keyword.
Yeah.
I think Google
Because I
filter your
wonder
results
how-
based on what you've already searched before.
They do. There's a
This
filter
ability that
bubble,
you
so we
have.
can't say where it
How
is.
strong.
Yeah.
That is a
I
good
search
question,
very
actually. Let
quickly.
me,
No, and they do that even if you don't have cookies. You can block Google cookies and they still do it by IP address images. It's kind of creepy.
You could try
They do?
Wahoo or something. Actually.
so actually, that's some really good thing to look into, what our visibility is like online, yeah. Okay, good. So let's see. So that was okay, good. So I think that was pretty much the core of what I had on the agenda. So more discussion of any ideas and maybe experiences people have had. That would be great. Any ideas? In the past, we've done a few little competitions where we gave out prizes. One of them was pictures of girls using Ubuntu, so like playing video games or like playing with Scratch or doing other things that were with their computers. And we got like, I don't know, 30, 40 submissions of just girls using computers that we could then use as Creative Commons licensed photos for things that we do. And that was really cool, and we got all the really cool submissions. And we gave away a netbook to the winner, which was really fun. And then we did one that was, I don't remember, where's our Wiki page? This one we did in the cycle for Oniric was a month of making, where we had women submit things that they've made, and make could be very loosely defined. So it was everything from one woman made a cupcake, and another woman made a bunch of Python programs around like gene sequencing or something, and then presented about it at conferences in France. It was quite a diverse number of submissions, and it was really cool. Oh, and the Ubuntu Women earrings. One of the winners was the one who made these.
You got to keep the earrings. I'm jealous.
I didn't make them. It's actually a woman in Berkeley
Yeah.
who owns a company that made the Ubuntu Women earrings.
One of the things, the risk that I see by doing Ubuntu Women is that you kind of subgroup of the whole community. It would be nice to see Ubuntu Women doing something for the community. So it's not, directed to women only, but, something that the women are leading for the community.
Most people contribute as individuals.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
we've floated the idea before
But
of. Oh, sorry.
But you can be an individual and act under that umbrella.
You don't need to if you don't want to.
I think we've proposed some projects before. Like we were trying to do some HCI stuff in the past, the human-computer interaction. But every time we've done that, it might have started with the Ubuntu Women project, but it quickly got sucked into the rest of the Ubuntu project, so it wasn't necessarily our project anymore. So I'm thinking maybe we could start some projects like that that are. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. What is this human-computer interaction thing?
It's. Oh, okay. It's like how people interact with computers and like.
What's like user testing?
User testing, UI stuff. Yeah. So it was, and that was like back in 2006 or something. So it was.
And you
Kind of
need to came out of
Unity
it?
brainstorm.
So that didn't really go very far, but.
It doesn't need to.
What was the problem? Why it didn't go far?
I think it didn't really have traction. The people who proposed it didn't really follow through very strongly. At the time, I didn't know anything about HCI, so I couldn't really know.
Well, I think the other thing that happens is you get a lot of women who come in through Ubuntu Women and then move on to other parts of the community. Like, Liz has been around since, what?
The beginning of time.
Yeah.
That's
But
fine.
but there are plenty of people who come in that time and now have no affiliation with Ubuntu Women at all, but they're still doing stuff in the Ubuntu project. So I think that part of, and I think that is kind of part of the function of Ubuntu Women, and part of the ways it does contribute to the project as a whole.
You see that with every starting community, every gateway community.
Jess is pointing out that Ada Lovelace Day falls on this cycle.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe we do another competition for that. I'll see if I can find some volunteers to run that, because I don't want to run one again.
Let's try this again. Who wants to run it?
I would love that day.
So can you explain what it is in case anybody doesn't know?
I don't know.
And ask about what
nice.
Ada Lovelace Day. It's a day to celebrate women in computing. So our month of making was our Ada Lovelace Day thing last year. It was just to celebrate and show off contributions by women in the project. And I ended up doing that one, and I'm not sure how that happened. But I'm not really interested in, it's just a lot of work, and not something I'm particularly interested in.
Maybe put me down,
but we should.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm sorry?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I have to look it up more first.
Link in the IRC channel.
Yeah,
it's more about the
finding out.
Yeah, there you go.
Discuss what it is.
Should have enough time.
So we might do some sort of competition. But getting back to your point, I'm wondering if there are any projects that maybe we could start and then push into the community and get rolling, maybe that are needs that aren't addressed currently in the Ubuntu community that may be specific to women or minorities
Well, it
or
would
something.
be a good way to get new contributors, start a new project, get more people interested that way.
Right.
Instead
So
of presentations, you make them actively participate.
So I'll explore that.
My point is that just because it says women, don't scare the rest of the community. And it will be interesting to see this group, like any kind of people, like, oh, what people they doing, because they always do interesting things for the community. So it's kind of in that sense to attract people, because you're doing cool things.
Okay.
And
yeah. Good.
That is hard, I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's good.
It sounds like one of the things that you would like then would be even more blog posts, etc., from the people who run Ubuntu Women, highlighting the work of other women inside Ubuntu that aren't part of that core team. Is that right?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were.
So one of the things that you brought up was there's a lot of women involved in Ubuntu who don't see themselves as core members of Ubuntu Women.
Yeah.
And they sort of. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they sort of flow out, right?
Yeah.
That's not a problem, right?
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a problem with this, but then it could fall positively to the Ubuntu Women project to better highlight those.
I would like that.
That seems like a good idea.
And I know that you.
So that's what we're doing in the full circle interviews, and then we post those to Fridge. We probably should be posting them to our blog now instead. I haven't really thought that through.
Yeah, that way you can take more credit for them.
Okay. Good.
Or just link it and saying Ubuntu Women is blurb, and then continue.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, sort of go back to the purpose of the group. So let's say one of the purposes is to reduce the barrier for women to participate in Ubuntu as some kind of contribution. So then that becomes an entry ramp, right? But then if people are going off to other projects, then that's by design in a sense.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So if somebody comes in, they take on a project, then they move on to doing something else, which is core outside of this group. It's fine as long as you can still occasionally ping them and sort of bring them back and say, talk about how you got to where you are. Right?
Yeah.
The other piece is if you want to highlight how people sort of go up the ladder to a position of relevance, reputation, those kinds of things. That's a slightly different problem in terms of how did you get to where you are and what were some of the barriers in getting there. Right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I found out, so I work at a university, some of you know that, and talking to our students, I was like, so why would you not want to do this? There was some random topic about using Ubuntu or using Wikipedia or all those things, and something that came out was that a lot of it has to do with identity. So I identify myself with a group, and so if you're telling me to do something that is different from the group, then I'm not very secure about it. So if Ubuntu Women can be that secure place where there are other people like me who are doing this, I can be a part of that, and that becomes an attractive way to get in. If it becomes something that's very special, esoteric, then maybe a lot of people would be like, that's not for me.
Right.
So I was actually quite surprised when they came back and they said that it's more about belonging than being, different and special.
Right. Trying to think how we can address that.
It's very important to all these things that are over computer and very remote. People don't always feel it. And that's something.
Yeah, but being a place where we're all in this together and we're all reaching out to other projects, I guess, and facilitating that as much as possible. So, yeah. Yeah, they're mentioning finding mentors and beginners team and other things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we worked with them, so they're sort of reorganizing perpetually.
Right. Yeah, mentorship is really tough in ad hoc mentorship in free software projects is a really tough thing to have succeed. There's a bunch. If you add a bunch more structure and limit it to a much smaller number of people, I think that you can have a much higher success rate. But it takes more work. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. You should probably talk to Amber.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she did a lot of looking in and interviewing people who were doing mentoring projects, and sort of found different results than that.
Oh, great.
So it'd be interesting for you to talk to her. I don't remember. I don't exactly what.
I have a proposed work item for somebody, which is maybe a bad way to start, but I totally agree with Akana talking about having non-PDF versions of the Full Circle magazine articles providing Google foo, and so I wonder if
for searchable for web engines, for example.
Right, exactly. So I wonder if someone would be willing to go through the existing set of Full Circle magazine Ubuntu Women articles and post them to the blog, perhaps backdated to back when they happened, so that it'll feel like
maybe not backdated, just like 1 a week maybe.
Are they mostly still on French?
So the interviews are all published,
Okay,
yeah. So those are all out there. It's just the other, the articles.
It would be a good idea, so just so that everyone can read it. I mean, I didn't know about Fish, for example.
Should go ahead and put that in there. We'll find someone to.
Okay, cool.
Liz, if you want to give me blog access,
Okay, great. Yeah. So Pendulum is your launchpad. Yeah. Great. So, and then I have to give you access. We'll talk about that once they fix the blog. So, any other thoughts about the next cycle? Things we can work on? Suggestions?
Well, Ashish was talking about how targeted mentorship instead of just like ad hoc, like sitting on the IRC channel and helping random people out.
Yeah.
Which tends to be what I tend to do.
So the mentoring project in the Ubuntu Women project has been around since we started, and we've tried targeting mentoring. Like we have on our mentoring page, we still have like a chart that says this person does this and this person does that. And we had for a while a chart where people could sign up to have mentors and ask what they wanted, but no one ever used it in I think 6 years. And so we tried a bit more, like, instead of having a chart where people add their name, we said, okay, how about you, if you want a mentor, email these people and we'll match you up with someone. But no one ever did that. So then we sort of migrated to this thing of like, we'll have the chart for reference, so when someone joins the channel, we can match them up with a mentor on the chart. But that didn't work either because it wasn't very good matching. People would put like what their expertise was, but then, you know, the people asking questions were, it didn't really map very well, so we weren't even able to contact those people who were on the list as available mentors. We ended up having to reach out further in the project and find places in the project where we could put them. So those approaches haven't worked. So what you do is more like we have Python stuff happening. If you're interested in this, come to us. Whereas ours was sort of backwards. We're like, tell us what you're interested in and we'll
Right.
send you somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think maybe
Yeah, I
if we
think that-
turn it around and say, we're offering mentoring on this specific
I think
thing,
it's also-
then maybe that would be the better way.
Yeah, so it varies, but go ahead and then I'll say more.
No, I mean, like, it makes sense because if I see a new project, the first thing I don't want to do is say, sign me up, please. I mean, I just want to look around and want to see what's available and things I can do, things I can make myself useful in my own way. And then maybe later I can ask, I may need some help with that. But that's usually I already have some interest. I might have checked out some stuff and then trying to get it running.
Well, and maybe instead of trying to build the mentorship stuff up, since we already have a log channel, we could build more metadata around the existing IRC structure and kind of go from that direction.
Not everyone uses IRC. Some use
Okay.
Facebook.
That's true.
So to address the question, I think you were saying the way that we at Open Hatch usually do mentorship is sort of more specific, I guess. I mean, I think that it depends on your goal. So we have a bunch of different things that we think are useful for different kinds of people. But the thing that if your goal is to better convert more women in the Ubuntu community into contributors, then I think going sort of one by one makes sense. Like, mentorship programs are sort of many on many with little supervision, and so you can't tell, even if you got people to sign up, you can't always tell if the mentorship is being effective. The most effective strategy I've seen for this is that used by the Fedora design team, where they post a particular singular thing. They say, we need this task done. If you succeed, it'll look like this. You'll maybe, in their case, they're designers, so it would be like, design this t-shirt for students who worked on Fedora over the summer. And if you want to do this, then leave a comment on this blog post. We'll mentor you through succeeding, and when you succeed, we'll thank you by giving you commit access to the Fedora design team repository, and you'll be part of the community. So you can sort of divide that by Fedora, divide it by design, multiply it by Ubuntu.
Like LibreOffice has like a bunch of lists of like all sorts of stuff, and I checked out the code and I'm like, ah! But anyways.
Right, and so the cool thing about this is that it's a specific task. So people who show up aren't like, which thing do I do? You're like, we need somebody to help us doing this thing. And if they care about it, great. You'll probably find somebody. And if not, then they'll pay attention to the next one on the blog.
Okay, that's a really good idea.
So,
Alright, so
I'll make a note about that.
Yeah, and I can follow up on
So a bit
figuring out some
similar
ideas.
code-like idea.
Well, it's very different because it's a much shorter time frame, and in summer
but I mean,
code,
like,
you give
same
students
idea.
a lot more flexibility as to what they do. Here, you actually tell them what to do, and you see who shows up to do it.
What was your question?
No, I thought it was more a bit like some of code then, because they have a few tasks, but if you want, you can do your own and get mentoring.
Oh, you're talking about Google Summer Code.
Yeah.
But a lot of projects just maintain to-do lists. Is the
Yeah.
idea.
It depends. We have a to-do list on Nouveau. Wine doesn't really. It's just like, if it works for you, perfect. If not, well, find a way to fix it. Because we have so much work to do, that if you want something, just ask an IC.
Work on what?
Wine.
Oh, yeah.
Wine
Oh.
is the implement Windows API with too few
Oh,
programmers
yeah,
singing.
yes.
So we usually target only popular applications. But if you want another one to work, just submit code to it.
Oh, thanks for the link.
Yeah.
That's good.
But Wine's not a good community, by the way.
Well, the just submit code is very daunting for people. Who've never-
No, it's also, their review structure really discourages new people to join, or even scares away existing contributors.
Alright, so
So it's not really a fun community to play with.
One question I have is, do we think there will be a big Ubuntu Women presence at AdaCamp DC?
I don't know. We should send a mail to the list to find out. I can't go. I've got work, but and I can't take the time off for it. But we should ask who all is going. So I'll take one to just write a mail to the list to see who's going to be there. Did you have any thoughts?
Well, I think the travel sponsorship deadline is today or soon or something. So it's on my mind. I mean, I actually can't go either, but.
Yeah, I saw a tweet this morning that it was coming up this week. I'll probably do that.
Great.
Okay. What was it, AdaCamp? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, I'll drop a link here on IRC and
Okay.
you can take it from there.
Alright, great.
It's adjacent to Wikimedia.
Right.
Actually, fun.
Tomorrow then.
Maybe
He's just thinking of the itinerary to check out today.
I'm just very, very fast.
I don't have an action item for it, but on the app review board, we actually got our first woman contributor.
Oh, wow.
Of the app this past couple of weeks. So I've been working on mentoring her and pointing her to Ubuntu women.
Nice.
And it's a fairly approachable place to come in. You know, just I have this little thing. Hers is a lens for searching buses, bus schedules.
Ah, nice.
That sounds like a blog post waiting to happen.
I know, right?
But I mean, you know, as a case as we're looking into mentor tasks, that might be one of them. You know,
Yeah, like creating an app and then sending it
On
to you
your
guys.
views.
Okay, that's it. Okay, let me add that under ideas. I'll clean up this in a bit. This is a mess here.
In addition to some of like these things that we're kind of doing for their own sake, are there existing projects or tasks like within the Ubuntu community elsewhere that could be done kind of under an Ubuntu movement banner to kind of raise visibility and also provide opportunities for new contributors to work on a certain thing? Whether it's like a community event like Developer Week or something like that by Ubuntu women, and then Ubuntu women contributors would help organize it, something like that.
So we've had in the past really big pushes to get women involved in things like that. We haven't done any kind of like by us. I think we've been a bit shy about doing some of that because we don't want to assume too much about the people involved, or I don't know, it seemed like it's something that others may not want to get involved with, or I don't know, I haven't put a lot of thought into it, I guess. Yeah. But do you have other examples of things that we might put our name on?
I don't know, I was just thinking about it as a pattern, because from some of the conversations earlier, like that if there, I mean, if among the people who are participating, there's a common interest in like in what that needs to be done, just using that as an opportunity, it's something people might be doing anyway, or that might be able to work together on, to also get some visibility for the project.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've done it like internally. We've said, like this open week, we've got 4 Ubuntu women members, and we'll put that out on the mailing list. But we haven't really done the reverse of saying that we haven't even. I mean, I think most of the women who introduce themselves, who are part of the Ubuntu Women Project, will say that in their introduction of their session. But we haven't actually done anything beyond that. So,
or if there's a blueprint that say like a few people from Ubuntu women wanted to work on together, that could highlight that. It's like this is this project got some support from Ubuntu women.
Right. Find some way to put that out there, and besides just on our own resources, which I think we might be interested in doing anyway.
Or even outside of Ubuntu, I don't know about like it would be like a Grow Geek dinner or something that was particularly like Ubuntu people.
Okay, that yeah, that might be a good idea.
Teams have done things. The Italian team did a push on ISO testing, and the forums have got their +1 team that is the forum's effort at doing +1 testing.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing.
And they sort of own that, so it's not a radical new thought that no other sort of team has done. So there is some precedent.
Okay, I'll take a look at those other teams too and see.
Probably the Italian team's ISO testing, I think is.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
there a particular person you would talk to about that? Might know like how it can be
indirectly, okay.
Elizabeth, do you think it might be worthwhile linking to Ubuntu Women from the Ubuntu website and the flavors as well? just so that people who visit the sites can see that there is actually an Ubuntu Women project.
I don't know who I'd talk to about that. We've gotten ourselves linked to different places before, but then in revisions of sites, they disappear. Like what happened with Planet.
Okay.
There's no more links.
They moved all links up.
But I'm not, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so it's on Ubuntu.com as a flavor section, right?
But, yeah, but it doesn't mention it on the men's side.
Yeah, and the community, if you go, it seems to me that if you go to Ubuntu.com and you click community, it seems likely that somewhere on that page that you land on, there should be a link to Ubuntu Women.
Yeah,
but
at least there. No.
There isn't, I mean, but like.
So if you click on the, if you
should
click
there be
on
really?
team project, so down to community structure, down the bottom, and you scroll down. Team structure. Yeah, I go over to project teams.
No one ever clicks there.
Well, so the community council rewrote this whole page this cycle to actually link to things that are linkable, and it's updated. Ubuntu Women's on here, but again, that's like 3 clicks from the main page, and it takes you to the wiki. I think Amber was working.
You can't link those IRC links, even though most people can't click on them.
I think the complaint was that people who actually want to join the channel and are using a real IRC client, it's really hard to like highlight that without accidentally clicking on it. So I think that's why we kept them just plain text in that. Just
spam.
Doesn't work in Firefox.
Yeah, people joining channels and not knowing what they're doing.
That. Yeah.
But I think Amber was actually talking to someone about ubuntu.com/community. And about changing some of the stuff on here, because it's better than it used to be.
Do you have a page that is easily linkable to? Like, let's say we want to add a link to nativebuntu.org that links to Ubuntu Women, just to show people that it does exist.
Yeah, just ubuntuwomen.org, and we also have women.ubuntu.org. I meant .com.
Which one?
We have the subdomain women.ubuntu.com, which is the same thing.
Okay.
It redirects to the wiki, but that's our website. So the front page is an immutable page except for by admins, and then everything else is the wiki. Because that's pretty much what we've had for years, but we just formalized it this cycle. So we had like one static HTML page, and everything else was on the wiki.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if you want, that would be great. Maybe I can talk to some of the other flavors as well. So maybe I should take an action item on this about getting our URL out on other websites, because we never really did a push for that. Even within the Women in Open Source space, I mean, we've done things like we have a Geek Feminism entry on their wiki and stuff, but we haven't done much pushing of our website elsewhere.
You could promote it on the site, like write articles for Geek Feminism.
Yeah.
So I'd suggest if we look to delegate some of
those Liz items.
Taking on too much shit.
Yeah, this is how Blueprint. Yeah, so I'll talk to people. So we're having a team meeting on IRC next week. I'll have to sort out the time. We'll announce it to the mailing list. But before we stick this in the blueprint, I think we're going to go over it at our team meeting on IRC when more people can attend. So we're actually, when does this end? In 5 minutes?
No, yeah, 6 minutes. What hasn't been played yet, so at least 5 minutes.
Okay. So I think I want to wrap things up, and just if anyone has final thoughts or suggestions.
I don't know how final this will be, but to continue on what Matt was saying about like taking work, as far as I understood, it was sort of taking work tasks that need being done inside Ubuntu and having Ubuntu Women help new women contributors or maybe existing women contributors through doing those tasks to contribute to the main project. Is that?
At the same time highlighting that Ubuntu Women
that we're doing it.
Right. One way to make that crossover with something else on the queue is to find some subset of tasks, maybe between 5 and 15 specific tickets, figure out what the development environment setup requirements would be, and then run a couple sort of women and their friends events maybe at some hackerspaces and say, at hackerspaces near a bunch of where the various women in Ubuntu Women are, and like invite people to show up who want to contribute to Ubuntu. You must be a woman or invited by a woman to show up, and then these are the tasks that we'll work on during that time.
Okay. Alright, with some...
In terms of the leadership team extend beyond the next cycle?
No, we have to do re-election this summer, so that's something that should be on the list. Yeah, that is on this cycle. I forgot about that. Thank you. We also should probably reassess our leadership structure in general. We went from having no leaders to 1 leaders to 3 leaders, 3 leaders, and now we should probably take a look at how well that's going and if that's still serving us well for the size of our project. What am I doing here? Someone else is going for me.
Ashish, do you run Women and Friends events for like any project, or do you only do? How specific are they?
Well, so the ones that I have the most experience with are the intro programming and Python events that I used to co-organize in the Boston area. And OpenHatch is interested in helping projects run Women and Their Friends events. We're in the middle of sort of abstracting the Python program's curriculum, dividing it by Boston and making it generic. But you can sort of divide that by Python again and have a very empty skeleton of what it means to run an effective Women and Their Friends event. So it's, but I'm not, I feel like I've lost your question.
If I were to decide to run one in some city with
Yeah.
a population of enough technology that there might be some women who are interested in one,
Yeah.
Would OpenHatch be a good group to talk to
Yes.
about getting a template or getting started? Or
Totally.
where are you located? Bay Area?
Personally, Bay Area. Well, I don't want to make this an OpenHatch session, but
No. That's all it needs.
It needs-
I don't think it's a specific work item at this point.
Okay, so
cool.
1 minute left.
All right. Is there anyone who would like some Ubuntu Women stuff, or who's going to any conference soon, or
I need a sticker for
you? I've got stickers. These aren't our best stickers, but
I'll put
you
one
are
on my
welcome.
laptop.
Take one for each.